Mm, okay.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens the door on men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we have none other than award-winning comedian. Can I say Canadian comedian?
You can. You sure can. You sure can.
Tom,
That's a part of my past, Yinka. You bet. Add
Tom
that into the
Spade.
resume.
Tom Spade. Tom, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
It's a pleasure to be here, Yenka. I was really excited when you guys asked me. So let's
Wow.
see where this goes.
Wow. You were excited. We were more shocked that you even accepted.
Mm. Oh, hey, there's you know what? Number one, if I can help somebody out there, that's fabulous. Number two, I'm always into promoting myself some way.
I hear you. I hear you. Tom, welcome. We're so happy to have you on here tonight. So, where should we go to?
Yenka, this is like I said. Here's most of my ground rules. For it. You ask me anything, and I will try and answer it as truthful and honest as I can. And then that'll normally end up into us going into some deep conversation. And then whoever's watching this will totally love it. That's
Good,
what I look for in a podcast,
good,
anyways.
good. There was a little bit of a devilment in me then to ask you a curveball question, but
Knock
I
it out,
thought
man.
I'll save it. I'll save that one. I'll save it.
Okay.
So, yeah, as an opening gambit, and answer this in any way you want. What's in your hurt locker?
What's in my hurt locker? Like most of the stuff I think, Yinka, that mine has always stemmed from is my obviously my childhood. You know what I mean? Nobody really can get to me as an adult, but when you're a kid and you're influenced by whatever around you, like I was suspended from school, made a example of, I didn't I didn't really have the wealthy background like a lot of people have, so there's always that imposter syndrome that sets that little seed into there. And it kind of I was thinking about this, most of us entertainers, we're really good because we're really good at fitting into wherever we need to fit in. And I think that comes from your childhood trying to, fit in and feel like you're part of something, but we rarely feel like we belong, so most of the stuff, like I say, stems from back then. You know what I mean? With a divorce lock, if I'm on the divorce locker, my parents were divorced, so one day my dad was there, one day he wasn't. Never really dealt with any of those issues. So, so for me, yeah, it all goes down to what happened back then for me. But then again, I don't. I know a lot of people like to put emphasis on their childhood and all that sort of stuff. Especially in the world we live with, like now, everybody talks about dealing with past trauma and that sort of stuff. But I'm on the opposite of that. I think all that stuff, all that, everything that really happened to me kind of makes you stronger. Do you know what I mean? I think people use it too much as a victim or to try and explain their lives and all that sort of stuff. Whereas I see it as a thing that shaped my life,
Okay.
because you, and if I'm talking too much, Jenka, you tell
No,
me
not
to
at
slow
all.
down,
Go,
man.
go, go.
Um, so for me, yeah, there was a lot of really crazy stuff back then. You know what I mean? I mean, we're latchkey kids. I know that sounds cliche,
No,
but it's very true.
no,
And and
I know that one.
and when you've got no parental supervision around, like I've been taken home by the cops many times when I was a kid, and like, because you don't have any parental guidance and you're really making it up as you go along and you make a lot of those mistakes and all that sort of stuff. But like I say, a lot of that stuff, I think it shapes you. And if you don't have that stuff in your life, you know, I think you're spoiled, and it doesn't harden you the way it should harden you. Like, I'm not saying,
Can I ask you a question on that? Can I ask you a
yeah,
question on that? Given your upbringing, your experiences, do you have children by any chance?
I do. I have
Okay.
two.
Okay, so here's the question. Here's the question. Because of what you've experienced growing up, have you tried to protect your children from those experiences? And in doing so, there's a little wry smile coming on your face there. And in
Mhm.
doing so, could there be an accusation that you've somewhat disabled them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I know what we're trying to say here. Like, did I go full protection on these kids?
Yeah.
Here's one thing I realized as a parent. If unless you're going to be a overbearing, strict parent, you know you're never going to be able to protect them the way that you think you're going to be able to protect them from the stuff that happened to you and all that stuff. Like, man, listen, my family, I love them all dearly. I love them. I love my aunts, my uncles, all of them, but they were raging alcoholics, and there was some seriously fucked up shit going on there. Maybe I didn't see it, but it's all in here. Well, I did see
Yes.
some of it. It was crazy, actually. But as a parent, for me, what I also realized before I go into this too is they could only parent me so much. Do you know what I mean? A lot of your childhood stems from you having a like a kind of safe environment when you get home, but most of your influences come from who you hang out with, who your friends are, all of that sort of stuff. I think your friends parent you more than your actual parents do. If I look back in
Interesting.
my like, when you're hanging around, you see a cool kid, you think I'd like to be like that cool kid. Your dad may be cool, but he's cool from like 1960 and 50. I'm 80s and 90s, right? So there's always that. But what I would say is that my kids have gone through the same kind of trauma shit, and I wouldn't even be surprised if I was delivered some of it. Because we're not perfect.
I know.
Nobody's a perfect person. But the one thing I will say is that I was more aware of being able to listen to them more than so much as my parents did, because they were just too busy divorcing and working and all of that sort of stuff. So while they were there, when I was raising my kids, I never really told them what to do, but I was there. My big thing was, I won't tell you what to do, but if you ask me, I'll give you my opinion. And that's how, I'm pretty sure if we were on the newlywed game, my kids would agree with me on that one for sure. So I think that's the only way I changed my parenting a little bit from that, because I just know you can't protect them from everything, and nor do you want to, man. You want them to get into tough situations so they're not
100%.
so freaked out later on in life when they meet, like, later on. Like, I've met more bad dudes in my adulthood
Yes.
that are like really trying to stop you for whatever than I ever met in my childhood. But that childhood, if I didn't have all those tough situations, it wouldn't have prepared me to deal with these guys later on down in life.
I hear you. Tell me a little bit about growing up then. Whereabouts in Canada?
Okay. Mm. I'm actually from a really tiny town called Quesnel, British Columbia, Yinko. Okay. And here's our motto, Yinko. Our motto in this town was, you didn't lose your girlfriend, you just lost your turn. Okay.
Okay.
You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying, man?
Okay.
And it's one of those towns where everybody knows everybody. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
and those are good towns and bad towns. They're good towns in the fact that everybody knows everybody, but they're bad town because everybody knows everybody. So if something good happens, but you could be ostracized in a heartbeat in a town like that. You set one foot wrong in a town like that. And like I say, that we're going back to the 80s,
Yes.
and
Yes.
how old are you, Yenko, may I ask?
I'm older than you. I'm
How
almost
old?
certain of that. I'm
I'm
59.
54. Oh shit, we're in the same boat, Yinka. We're in the same boat. Not like you're that much further ahead than I am. So you'll know what I mean. Like, and the 80s, a lot of us were like, we used to have parties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we'd have massive parties in the middle of the bushes where there'd be 300 people, things like you saw in the movies. Like I mean, I started drinking, and I think because of my no parent supervision, I started drinking and doing drugs when I was what, probably 13, I'd say.
Wow. Wow.
And but it made you fit in. It made you popular with the other kids, not maybe popular with the parents and stuff like that, but who gives a shit about the parents? Do you know what I
Y-
mean?
Yeah. You
And it
don't at that age.
starts, yeah. So the town, and like I say, we were reckless. Like we used to fight, drink, and fuck, and this was all at such an early age when, like I say, you were molding your personality and all that sort of stuff. Little did you know you were molding it in a way that would be detrimental later on down in life too. As much as it helps, it also, everything's always a double-edged sword, Yinka. You know what I mean?
100%.
Everything is, because even though it helped me, like I say in before, going, okay, yeah, uh these things harden you up to help you later on in life, but drinking and drugs and all that sort of stuff stayed with me a little bit too long, Yinka. you know
Okay.
and 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 that all stems back from that because I didn't know any better. Do you know what I mean? It's the life that I knew, and it caused quite a few problems later on in life. But
Did you have any siblings?
I did. I had an older half brother
What was
who
your
was.
relationship like with them?
It was It's funny. It was good when we were kids, Yenka. It was really good when we were kids. He was actually probably one of the more stable people in my life. He coached our soccer team,
Okay.
and he was 6 years older than me, um, because my mom lost her turn. so, so, but he was a nice guy, and he was older, so he had more of a um, feeling of responsibility, like all older kids do. That,
Okay.
like, I think, anyways. I mean, could be wrong. There's probably some asshole older brothers, but as I was the recluse, he was the more responsible one, and now that I think about it, like, yeah, he gave me just enough structure to make it through. But as we got older, we just became different people, and I still talk to him and all that sort of stuff, but we don't have the same closeness as we did when we were younger. Because again, it all stems to that, just reaching out and trying to grab somebody that you look up to for different reasons. And I guess you look up to a lot of different people.
Of course.
You
For
find
different
different things in
reasons.
different people,
Yeah.
right?
Were you a nice person growing up?
Hmm. Yeah, of course, man, of course. Like Inca, like when you have a single mom, they can't control two young teenage boys. You
No.
just can't. Unless, like I say, unless you're going to be that strict a parent that doesn't let you out or anything like that, you're at the mercy of us. You know, we loved our mom, but like
You
whereas
could
other
run
kids,
rings around it as well.
dude, I remember stealing a guy's truck. Okay, we oh my god, I forgot about that. Like, this is how crazy it was. We stole a friend of ours. His parents were out of town. We ended up stealing his truck to go down to Vancouver, and
Okay.
my mom didn't even know I was gone for like 3 days. Like she didn't even, it didn't even click on her. She just thought we were missing each other. But yet, me and another friend, Rick and Bruce, we took this truck, we siphoned gas all the way down to Vancouver. Had the best weekend of our lives, man. Like, crazy. But this is what I mean by when you're like a single mom, all I had to do was check in,
Yes.
and then we were good, man. Like, it was, yeah, it was nuts. So you just there was too many things that she couldn't s- she couldn't stop us from doing anything. You know what I mean? But she was there. She was, and you know what? In a way, I'm kind of glad she wasn't a strict parent
Why do
again,
you say? Why do you say that?
because ah, you wouldn't have been able to go on these Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn adventures that you went on.
I
You
hear
know,
you. I hear
right?
you.
Like, you wouldn't be able to be a kid. You'd be that character in a book that was locked in a tower because they were worried about your future instead of worrying about your now, right?
Yeah. So talking about future, what was school like for you? Did you see school as a pathway, as a gateway to get out of where you were living, the area you were living, or was that not even a consideration?
This is It's so funny, Inca. It's so funny. School was good, man. School was okay for me because this is again all double-edged swords, Inca. It's crazy to me because I got into high school and that's where I found acting. I went into drama and all that
Okay.
stuff. And with drama, it gave me a little bit of confidence, you know what I mean? It taught me how to fit in, to tell you the truth. And eventually, like, where I'm from, we had a junior high and a senior high. Okay? And so and the senior high, there was one senior high that went for you guys. What is the end year for you guys? It's year 7, isn't it? That's
Year
so that,
seven for yes, is it year six for the primary school age,
and then
and then
S.
from 12, say 11, up to 16, and then if you want to stay on for A levels, it's up to 18 before university.
Right, right. Okay. So I would have so junior high would have been you would have been about 12 years old to go into junior high.
Okay,
And you'd go, and what that would be grade 8, grade 9, grade 10.
okay,
So the school I went to, and I was talking about this the other day, like the first, when I say we started drinking at around 12, 13, the first time I ever drank was we went to a cast party, and I was one of the main characters, the young kid, 12 years old, in a main character in the school's big play. And I was hanging out with 15 and 16-year-olds, and they invited me there and got me super wasted. It was the greatest night of my life, like, properly the greatest night of my life. But also, like I said, it solidified that night because it was so good.
okay.
I've been chasing that dragon
I hear you.
till till
I
right
hear you.
now.
I
Till right
hear you.
now.
Yes.
So, and then all that fucked up shit that goes with that, because not every
Yes.
night drinking and smoking is going to be the best night of your life, whatever. But so we're talking about school. So that was good, and it made me popular in school. It did.
That's
It did.
go on. Yeah, go on.
It made me
Go
very
on.
popular, which was great. And I know a lot of people talk about being bullied and all that sort of shit,
Not
but
you.
not my experience, because I ended up becoming high school president, Yinka, which
Okay.
is crazy, which is
Oh,
fucking crazy. Because what happens next? is even more mental. So so it's all good there. I mean, like I say, we're sitting there, we're partying our faces off and barely making it through. But I went to senior high, and I lasted 1 year before I brought in a bunch of booze to what they would call an airband contest. I don't know if you remember those, Dinka, or they even have them over here?
What did you call it?
An airband contest where you pretend to play instruments and
Like
pretend.
air guitar and all of that malarkey. Yeah.
Ding, yes, all that
Yes.
malarkey. How dare you? How dare you call it malarkey? What? Um,
Come on, come on.
it is. It was cheesy as fuck. We did old time rock and roll and pretended we were Bob Seger. Oh my god, that's so hilarious. These are funny memories. For the Hurt Locker, this doesn't feel like it's hurting. It's going down memory lane. But so yeah,
So one
so
year
so I
you
get
brought to
there.
the booze.
I'm halfway through the first year. I snuck in a bottle of Kahlua that I stole from a friend's grandma's house, which is hilarious because my friend, like see when we go to all these parties, we weren't old enough to buy booze, but our parents always have booze, and my friend goes, "Hey, my grandma's got some booze." One time, so he went over to his grandma's place, and he the stupid kid Bruce. Do you know what you did, Bruce? Um, he showed us where the key was. We went in, went and partied. Now I knew where the key was to Bruce's grandma's place. So I go and steal from them. And then I get caught. So I ended up having Kahlua or whatever. And and then so I get caught with that at the airband contest at the school. And that's where my school career ended. It ended because they said they suspended me. They found out where the bottle came from. You know what I mean? Like it's not just a bottle, it's a stolen bottle from somebody's
Yes.
house that you broke into. Um and 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 so I got suspended. I got suspended for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But the problem is they said after 2 weeks I can't do any of the extracurricular activities that I enjoyed going to school for. I didn't enjoy going there for math or history or French. Definitely not French. But I did enjoy going there for drama and they were going to take that away from me. And that's when I decided I was about to drop out of school. And again, single mom. Do you know what I mean? I said I'm dropping out of school and I'm gonna figure out what to do after that. And yeah, so I dropped out of school. I took some acting courses.
How old were you?
I was I was 16. Yeah, I had my driver's license at that time, so I was just 16 going on 17. Yeah.
And what was your mum's response to that?
Again, can't really force me to go now, can you? You can't, like, once you make up your mind at that age, she was always. See, moms are so good, Yinka. Moms are more important than dads are to me. I mean,
Why, why,
dads,
why, why do you say that?
because dads are like, we're we're good at being your friend, because I feel like my experience with my dad was he wanted me to like him. Do you know what I mean? Where my mom didn't care if I liked her or not, which gave her a bit more honesty. And I think women have that. I think women have a little more honesty than dads do. I mean, not all. And listen, when I say this, I'm not
No,
saying blanketing it. I'm not,
no.
of
This is
course,
your experience. This is your
yeah.
experience.
Thank you, Yanka. I'm not saying that. I'm positive there's some awesome dads out there. Of course there are. I mean, but for me, my mom was my dad would just go, whatever you want to do, Tom, right? My mom would give me ultimatums, show me a bunch of different ways of what I'm about to do. Like she pretty much have a pro and con chart right in front of me. Whereas my dad was like, do it, Tom, whatever you want. He'd just say yes to anything, which isn't a bad thing, right? But I only saw him like 2 months out of every summer anyways. And not that he was a bad guy, but that's just who he was. But my mom was, at least when I said, I want to take some drama courses and all that sort of stuff, sh- for the person she was fabulous, and she helped me find these courses. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And got me into the drama thing. But for her, again, we got to go back to being a small town. You know what I mean? Her son is now a dropout to all the people that they know. So it's a repercussion. So I'm now like a bad kid. I'm a
Yes.
bad influenced kid. So a lot of the friends that I hung out with, their parents
Your
weren't
parents.
impressed
Absolutely.
with their kids hanging out with this high school dropout, drug taking, drinking guy. But in my mind, I knew I wanted to be an actor or something like that. I didn't realize comedy was coming into my life, but it makes a lot of sense now. That's for
Okay.
sure. Because I just
Okay.
don't give a fuck.
Cool. Good. So
you
tell me
know.
then. So where did that drama, the drama lessons, acting lessons, where did that lead you to?
Um, the drama.
Initially.
I was well, like I said, go back grade eight. I couldn't believe I got cast as I played a part called Warful in the Clumsy Custard Horse Show, which is a big production, whatever. And I was just good at it. I was just really good at pretending. Honestly, I was great. And and it was something that, like, if every kid is good at something, Yinka, they are. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They may not be good at math, they may not be good at history, they may not. As soon as you find that one thing that they love, drown them in it. Drown
That's
them
it.
in it.
That's it.
Totally drown them in it. Forget the other stuff. Like, as long as they know how to count change or whatever, and they can read a book, they don't even need to read a book anymore, to tell you the truth. Like if they had audiobooks back in the 80s that
You'd be
weren't on
flying.
cassette tapes, I'd be flying, man. Like, so good. But that was always there. And here's one thing I'll say about my dad. My dad used to love stand-up comedy. He did. He really.
Okay.
My dad, and it was always common. Stand-up comedy was always there, like from Bob Newhart. I don't even know if
Okay.
people know,
Yes.
of
Yes.
course, but Lily Tomlin,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
telephone
I
operator.
used to have a crush on some ruthless growing up.
Amazing. That's amazing, man.
Yes.
So they were there. And then even when I got to be 16, I can remember there was one guy that worked with my mom at the radio station, and he was a comedy guy. And we used to, I was 16 smoking joints with like a 28-year-old, 30-year-old man. But we would sit and get high in his apartment and listen to Sam Kinison. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And
that's a
and
new one
one,
on me. That's a new one
oh,
on
he
me.
was Louder Than Hell is still one of my, just brings back so many memories. Like back in the day when you would listen to a comedy album over and
Yes.
over and over again, because the passionate, but it was always there, right? But I always didn't think of me as being a comedian, because they didn't have stand-up comedy course in high school. They had drama, you
Yes.
know what I mean? And they had music, but stand-up was just this alternative, really crazy thing, right? And so I took all the courses and all that stuff, and then I went to Vancouver, and This is a bit of a legendary story, and I think I've told this one before, Yanka, so I don't want to bore everybody, but
You're not boring. Come on.
yeah,
Come on.
okay. Okay, well, I went into a CBC general casting call. That's when the whole country can go and read for the CBC. Let these casting directors know what kind of talent is in the country. And I went and read, but I read so well that I almost got on 21 Jump Street, man. But the problem was is I didn't have an agent, Yinka. I was so naive, and they said, "Who's your agent?" They thought I was that good, and when I told them, I'm from Bushkin nowhere, they gave me a book called The Real West Digest. I'll never forget his name, Sid Kozak. Tom, go find an agent and come back here. And so I was like trying to find an agent, but I couldn't. But what I did do is I went to a comedy club one night, and there was a friend there that I knew from Prince George. I know the new town shows up, but Prince George is an hour away from Quesnel. And in my whole story, I was also tree planting, but let's whatever. And I saw this comedian when I was 17 in a bar, but I'd seen him again at Punchlines. And I told him why I was there to become an actor and all that stuff. And he said, "Well, while you're trying to become an actor, why don't you do some stand up?" And when we talked, and he was like, okay. And so so he said, "You can be your own director, actor, playwright, all of this stuff. And plus it was the people. I was really grooving off the comedians because they were so counterculture. They were
Yes.
exactly like me. They were troublemakers. They were
Yes.
traumatized. You could tell these people the most fucked up shit, like the guy that tried to suck your dick when you were 5. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And they wouldn't look at it in horror. They would laugh at it. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, finally, somebody, because you can't do anything about the past, but you can laugh at this fuck, right? And I really enjoyed the people as much as and then when I went on stage, it went okay. It didn't go great, but man, it had that rush. Do you know what I mean? It had that,
There's another dragon to chase, isn't it?
yeah,
There's another dragon to chase.
yeah. And plus it was easier than acting. Not a lot of people
Why
know.
so?
Because I didn't have to go through casting directors. Do you know what I mean? I didn't need an agent to get on an amateur night. You know what
Okay.
I mean? I found a bunch of fucked up people that understood that this trauma was supposed to be laughed at. It was supposed to, because seeing how this is the Hurt Locker, and I know I'm dancing around a lot of these
No,
ideas. I
go
get
on.
it. I get it. But I really believe that when you're an adult, and I've got friends that look at past trauma like they have to sort it out. Do you know what I mean? Like they have to figure out what happened and then deal with it so they can move on, right? Whereas I find there's more healing in laughing and finding the humor in what happened to you, because as soon as you start laughing at it, that monster goes away, man. You fucking take its power away. You know what I mean? And
That's
that's
the
what that
truth.
that's what I think the comedy's missing in a way nowadays. Because if you really want to laugh at some stuff, it might get offensive. And in the 90s, we loved offensive. We loved it. Yeah, I'm not lying. I was there. the
Yes.
more the more fucked up your humor was, the funnier. But like anything, there's a pendulum that just.
And absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting you speak about that pendulum swinging because the 90s for me, in terms of comedy, it was epitomized by Bill Hicks.
Hmm.
I loved Bill Hicks and he came to Liverpool, and I loved the fact that he came to Liverpool. It was messed up. we were going through Liverpool as a city was going through all kinds of madness, not just the rave scene and that, but there was shootings and police on the streets with guns, which we'd never seen before. It was mad.
Yeah,
And then you had to laugh at the absurdity of it all.
of course you do, man. Because you ain't gonna be able to fix it.
No, no,
How you gonna fix? How you gonna fix even what's going on nowadays? You can't. This is what people think is that, I agree with you, by the way. I don't even know, like, I was Vancouver by the time the 90s hits. I was all Vancouver at that point, and Liverpool would have been more fucked up than Vancouver by,
100%,
like, 100%.
100%,
And
100%.
but Vancouver was fucked up just as much as anyone. You got heroin addicts, you got everything going on there. It's a port city, just like you guys. You know what I
You
mean?
know it, you know it, you
You've
know
got
it.
cultures coming in and melding
Yes,
with each other, and
yes.
and this is the world we live in, and people forget that. And they try and fix all this stuff. You know what I mean? They try and make it this perfect place, but the only way you can make it a perfect place is by understanding that it's imperfect.
Definitely,
But as soon as you
definitely.
want it to be something that it ain't, then you're going to be the fucked up one, man.
You're gonna have problems.
You're going to
Absolutely,
have the problem, you bet, man. Like, and
absolutely.
and and you see it, like I say, you see it. So but now I get, like, nowadays you got too much of this fucking trying to solve all these kids problems, on Instagram with, hey, do you have ADHD? Here's how to deal with a narcissist. Like, fucking what the fuck are you talking about, man? You're blanketing everything. There's plenty of different kinds of narcissists out there that'll fuck you
You
up,
know,
man.
you know that, you know
you
that.
know and and by them, I commend them. I commend these kids trying to make it a perfect place. That's what woke is, I'm assuming. Do you know what I mean? To be woke is to oh, everybody's just gonna love each other. There's gonna be no sexism, no race, no racism, no fucking. And you're like, what are you fucking talking about? There's
It's
fucking
human
crazy people
beings.
out there.
You're dealing with human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. And here's the solace that I'll always have, is that the majority isn't fucked up. Do you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
majority of the world isn't fucked up. And when you didn't have social media, right? You could see the majority wasn't fucked up. Now that you have Twitter and you have Instagram and all that highlight
you can
highlight
shine spotlights on little microcosms of
the most fucked up.
imperfections.
Of
Yes,
course, man.
yes,
Of course. and
yes.
then and then once you do that, then all the other fucked up people come out of the woodwork, and we're the ones, the majority now think that the majority of people are fucked up, but they're not. They're just not. But we're so hooked on all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? So
Agreed.
even though my childhood may have been traumatic, I can't even imagine growing up now. Do you know? Like, there must be the kids now. I mean, think about this, right? Our biggest problem, if I remember right, was a girl would look in a magazine and compare herself to the sexy person in the magazine, right? And give her a bit of a fucking hard time, right? Because back when I was there, magazines were the big ones. How can we compare to these perfect people in a magazine, right? But at least you had to buy the fucking magazine. Do you know what I mean? Now, what if the magazine, you just came home and somebody plastered this pictures of all these perfect people all over your wall, and you didn't even fucking ask for it?
That's what
That's
happened. That's what's happening
that
now.
exactly, man.
That's what's happening now.
Exactly, man. Do you think I'd give a fuck about people in a small boat in 1990? You know what I mean? I'd be like, fuck. amazing that they even made it over here. You know, like, I'd be impressed. You know, in fact, most of the time I'm like, okay, say they are soldiers. That's a weird way of fucking coming on over here in a dinghy. Fucking look at these warriors. No, man, they're coming because they're fucked. Wherever they came from is fucked up.
Absolutely.
Nobody gets in a fucking dinghy and shows up here, and even them. So there you go. Even the majority of those people on that boat, given the right opportunities, would be beautiful people. Of course they would. But you know dang well on that boat, there's 80% of them looking at one guy going, that's the guy that's gonna make us look bad. That fuck right fucking
Yes.
there, man.
Yes. Yes.
Fucking how the fuck did he get on my dinghy for fuck's sakes? And that's but and then what ends up happening is you shine the light on that one guy, and then all the
Yes.
rest of them are that, and that's, you know, and but that's what I mean. So the kids nowadays, you know, that's what they're the kids nowadays, the people who are living through this time, that's something they have to contend with too. You know what I mean? Not only
100%.
what's going on in their neighborhood, but they also have a world vision that they see on a daily basis that they also incorporate into their world,
And
which is very interesting. And
I
I don't know
was,
how I would handle it.
how did you survive Vancouver?
Ah, Vancouver. How did we? I think I think you, like I said, I think you survive by always going with the flow, Jinka, if I could say that, you know,
Okay.
because you know as well as I do, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, do we?
No, not at
You
all.
know, you
Not
you
at
don't.
all.
Tomorrow, you know, maybe the greatest day of your life. Tomorrow, your son may die, and I hate to bring that to
No, it's
a
reality.
fucking a reality. Do you know what I mean? And it could take you one way or the other, whatever, right? So when you're in Liverpool, right, and it's crazy, you know, you have to go with the flow to try and survive whatever comes at you that day without losing your sanity, man. Right?
100%. 100%.
Right. So the same thing in Vancouver. It doesn't really matter what town you're in, because every town is going to have its craziness. You don't think Hull doesn't have its craziness? You don't think, you know, Berlin don't have its craziness? There's probably a
No
small
Berlin.
town in Spain that's more fucked up than Liverpool that I've never even fucking heard of. And there's people just fucking every day waking up going, all right, that was fucked up last night. Let's try and
Let's
do
do it
better
again.
today. Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
better today. Did we learn anything? Nope. We're breaking into this
No,
guy's
let's
house
have a
again.
go.
Right? But it's the people that don't go with the flow, that don't understand that humanity is like it moves all the time, you know, and you can't stop it. You know what I mean? And if you try to stop it, it will run you over, man. And that's what,
Yes.
you know, and if I sit there and stop and think about all the traumatizing events that happened to me, and there were many, do you know what I mean? Just like in everybody's life. If there was no trauma in your life, you're probably more fucked up than I am. Do you know what I mean? If there was
Yes.
no if you lived in some ivory tower where nothing bad ever happened to you, you know, I mean, there's probably Greek story about why you're fucked up, but I think most of us are like Hercules. Do you know what I mean? Like
Go on, explain.
most of us are like Hercules. Like, what if Hercules didn't have to go through all those trials? Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
like, his story would be boring now, wouldn't it? You know, if Perseus didn't have to, I don't even know if that's the right one, fight Medusa or whatever, right? That
Yes.
built, that made him. But you didn't see Perseus traumatized after the battle that he had to beat a snake-haired chick to death with a sword
So what?
after he watched three of his friends die. You know what
Okay.
I
So,
mean?
so
He
what you're
comes
saying
out
is
of it.
that We
He
all
comes
have
out.
we all have stories. We all have experiences. And I
Yeah,
suppose what I'm hearing within all of this is it's not how we react, it's how we respond to those experiences themselves. It can fuck us up in ways if we allow it to, or we can just surf that wave, as it were, and
yeah,
then move on to the next.
yeah, exactly. Because imagine every Greek story that you've heard of. Yeah. Do you think Perseus is in a therapy right now, sitting in a chair talking to some psychologist?
Okay,
You know, you
here's my
think
question.
that
Here's my question. Have you ever had therapy?
no, no,
Oh, oh, I love the way you responded then. No.
no,
Have
no,
you known?
man. I
Have you
mean,
known?
and I'm not saying it ain't. It's probably really good. It probably is really good. I don't want to be a guy that says don't go to. I'm just saying I don't see Hercules sitting in a chair going, I didn't know who my father was. You know, like like I don't think he's that. You
You're
know,
such
I
a
don't think.
Philistine, aren't you? You're such
Yeah,
a
man. I don't
Philistine.
think. I
Oh
don't
my
think
gosh.
David, after he fought Goliath, was like, I can't believe I killed a man.
With this stone. Just
Yeah,
with this stone.
it's like I'll never pick up a stone again. You know. Now, now with that said, though, too, my trauma is normal trauma. Do you know what I mean? My is normal trauma. Then there's other people that have gone through some real trauma.
Yeah,
This is what I do know. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Mine, yes. Okay. I think mine is just normal like everybody else's. I mean, we like to elevate it,
Okay, so but
but you
it's
you
interesting you
can't
saying
compare
we like to,
yourself to
it's interesting you
somebody who's
saying that, but could I say that you're minimizing your, like, I don't know you from Adam,
yeah.
but could it be that you're minimizing your own life experiences?
I'm comparing it to what it could have been. I don't think minimizing it is would be the word I am, because if I sat here and said, "Oh, I can't believe I quit school and I got kicked out and whatever," and then there's a woman going, "Well, I've been in the sex. I was trafficked at 5, and I've been thrown around in Czechoslovakia, and I can't believe I'm a survivor." Now, to me, that might be a little bit too much for somebody to handle. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
On their own.
100%,
On
100%.
their own. So that's what I mean. Like for her to go and be able to talk to somebody about that, or a kid, you know what I mean, that was
100%.
beaten up by his father every fucking day. That's a different level, man.
It
You know what
is.
I mean? That is a
Definitely.
and I know friends like that. I've had friends like that. And they're pretty strong fucking people. Do you know what I mean? They're very strong people. I mean, they may not see it, but they're definitely strong people. But in an instance like that,
That's
that
different, man.
that's a
Yeah.
way different thing to
Yeah.
try and process. You can be as stoic as you want, and you could have those, like you can be like, I don't know, Socrates. I mean, but then again, Socrates was a slave. He handled it pretty good. he was okay. He was like,
Can I
he
ask?
came out of it pretty decent.
Can
I
I
don't
ask
know.
you though? Have you ever lost anybody to suicide?
Yeah, man. Yeah, remember the play that I was telling you about? That was the
Yes.
first one. Yeah, his name was I'll give his name.
What?
Montessori, like from the school. He was.
Montessori.
Yeah, man, Monty. I saw him swinging in a tree, man. It was crazy. We were at a house party, and I was in grade 10. Monty was just graduating, and we'd been friends since I was in grade 8. He was my first older friend. Do you know what I mean? He made my life in high school so awesome. You know,
Safe,
oh,
secure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got an older buddy that took this young kid under his wing
That
through
must have
high
felt
school.
lost. That must have
Oh,
felt lost.
fucking to know all the seniors and them all
Yeah,
love you. Hey, Tom,
yeah.
how's it going? Yeah, and then we went to a party, and yeah, that was the end of Monty, man. It was crazy. It was crazy, and and yeah,
How,
that
how
was
was
that was a
how did that
nutmeg.
impact you?
I thought, I thought he took the coward's way out.
Why do you
I
say
don't
that?
because there's so many options out there for
But
people.
maybe that was the only door that he could find for him. Maybe his
Probably.
life had become so unbearable that he couldn't find any other way.
I agree with that 100%. You asked me how it impacted me. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah, yeah,
agree
yeah.
with
Yeah,
you.
and you're being honest, and that's why
I,
I'm not
no, I
running
agree
you
with you. I
down or
agree
anything
with
like that.
with him. You bet that could be the way he saw it. But the fact that I saw him do like was there for that. I mean, it impacted the whole community, man. It wasn't like I said. It's a small, tiny town,
Absolutely.
and the way I saw it, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah,
thought,
absolutely.
man, you by you doing this made it like I'm never gonna do this. I'm never gonna do that.
Was that because of you saw the effects it
Yeah,
had
going, you had
across
so
everybody?
many options, dude. What, you owed some money? You owed a bit of drug money to somebody, or there was a thing that you didn't think you could get out of? I mean, listen, fucking, if you're gonna commit suicide, there's plenty of drugs and alcohol here. Let's party our faces off to death. Let's rave ourselves into the grave. I'll do that with you. I'll commit suicide, the fucking partying my face off with you. But what you did was end the party a little too soon to me,
I hear
and
you.
like I say, this isn't, I'm not saying that Monty, again, you should, you can get help. I'm not that guy. But you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
asking me what
I'm
I thought
100%,
of
100%.
that, seeing that, and there have been a couple others. I always just realized that maybe that was a lesson, maybe that was your last lesson to give to me, but I will never do that. I find that, this is a very unique experience to be alive. Do you know what I mean? So make it last as long as you can. And there's no problems out there that are so big. Do you know what
That
I
would
mean? That
warrant
you
you
have to,
ending your life.
yeah. But also, then again, this thing up here can fuck with you. You know what I mean? Like this
100%.
this thing up here has a mind of its own. Like,
Literally,
yeah.
literally.
And
So
so
have
my
you ever,
mind
has it never been a thought for you?
no, man. No, I don't. There's not one time that I thought, I thought I'd go kill somebody.
Or we can have another conversation about that
Yeah, I'll
one.
go and kill this cunt. What he fucking did. Put this guy into the grave. but but uh but no, the other way, I've always, but again, you know what I mean? That could change. I could say this right now. I could say this right now. How I'm feeling right now is definitely, like I say, to see that firsthand just made me go, no, dude, there were too many other things you could do. But one day, you know what I mean? Maybe it's wife leaving you. Maybe, maybe I haven't gone to that point. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I haven't, I mean, I can talk a good game right now, but who knows? Maybe everything's taken away from me. Wife's gone, can't see my kids. I'm out on the street. You know what I mean? I've got no money. I mean, there's always going to be a breaking point for somebody. Just, hopefully you never get to that point. You know what I mean? But I don't feel that, you know, m- most of the times when I see that, probably some people are at that breaking point or whatever, but a lot aren't.
Yeah.
A lot just, dude, you should have just came and talked to me. We would have had a laugh and this would have been all over. But that's what one good thing about these times are. I'll say that is that, like, maybe if he was raised in nowadays, there are more outlets for
Yes.
something like that you
Yeah.
didn't have in the 80s, man. Do you know, like,
Yes.
there in the 80s, like, if you were dealing with those thoughts, there was not like, there wasn't commercials going, hey, find out if your buddy wants to fucking off himself, say hi, check in with him, man. You know what I mean? Not in the 80s. No fucking way. But now it's like it's on a fucking bus will drive by going, have you checked in with your fucked up friend? Oh man, yeah, I should fucking go see how fucked up Yinka's doing. Oh, hey Yinka, what's up? And you got a gun to your mouth. Nothing, Tom. Just listening to my favorite song.
Playing it backwards.
Playing it backwards. You cool? Yeah. Oh yeah. No, no, Tom. My
It's all
my
good.
my daughter just blocked me on Instagram. I can deal with it though. Like just uh, at least there's a little bit more. Um, Sorry if I make fun of it. Man. This
No,
is why I love.
no.
This is
This
why I
is what
love comedians, because they don't have the same kind of. They don't have the high empathy levels that a normal
that's not what
person
we want.
has.
That's what is a normal person? What
Um,
is a normal person?
a normal person to me is one who knows that there's safety in a group. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't, like, if you're living in Liverpool in a neighborhood, right?
Go on.
You need those people in that neighborhood to get you a job,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean, to like, you're living next door to them, so you have to abide by certain rules so that everybody can get along and all that sort of stuff. And once you have that group mentality, you know what I mean, there whatever that mentality is, that's going to be yours, and so,
But
and it's very,
doesn't that detract and take away from that individuality as well?
I think it does. That's what I'm
And
saying.
in order for you to be as successful as you are, you've had to have that maintain that solo, stand by yourself individuality. You've had to
You get more.
maintain that because you have to be more. You're being more authentic.
Yeah, yeah. It's just okay. Say that to me again, Yinka. I just want to make sure, so I'm not.
We
I
you
know what
you
I'm saying.
you talk about having that communal connection and all of
Yeah,
that, the need
yeah.
to rely on neighbors, etc., etc.
And
But
neighbors need to rely on you. You know.
absolutely, but then sometimes that can detract from you being your authentic self.
Agreed. 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 And that on so many levels, in a family, and it's in a neighborhood, in an area, in Liverpool in general, in the UK. You know what I mean? There's a certain unity that has to happen, right?
Yeah,
But as soon as you break away, do you know what I mean? As soon as you break away from that, I find something happens to you. Do you know what I mean?
go
And
on,
and
go on,
for me,
explain that.
comedy happened for me. And what I realized in comedy is that I am an empathetic person. I really am. I feel for a lot, but I can't really show it because empathy doesn't have funny. Empathy to me, if I have empathy, I might find something so horrid that I can't find the funny side in it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
So, and
okay,
for me, I need to find the funny side in everything. From a school shooting, do you know what I mean? Like, some of the
okay.
best jokes are, but if
Yeah,
I'm like my mother, you know what I mean? My mother has empathy coming out her yin yang. She would never find anything funny about a school shooting. Do you know what I? So, but for me, I have empathy. Of course I do. Of course I have it. Like, not one parent that I don't feel for. But I also know that it's my job to go and find what's funny about this,
and make
because
people laugh.
people laugh, because there's also, to me, a little bit of healing involved in comedy. I've always thought I've always thought this: the moment that you die, like, you ever hear about those people that do stupid shit and die? Do you know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
read the Darwin Awards. I always read them every year.
I
It's
always
brilliant.
think that they laugh. I always think they laugh 30 seconds before they realize what they've done. They're like going, fucking, really? I'm going to be ripped up by a pack of wolves? I
It was a
should
good
have
idea at the
never come
time.
into this cage, man.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
so that's why when people go to comedy and see us laughing at that, some people can't laugh at it because they have that empathy. They have too much, and they will find it offensive. They'll find that. But like I say, I'm on the other side, that I need to know, in any topic, there's a sad side, there's an angry side, you know, but there's also a funny side in everything. Is fucking is like, as evil as it might be, there is a funny side in
So
all of
I'm
it,
going to
because
ask you.
you know why there's a funny side, because it shouldn't have happened.
Okay, okay, okay.
That's why there's a funny side to it, because it's a tragedy, and everybody knows that comedy is tragedy, because we've done something so fucking stupid that it's caused this fucking ridiculousness that's happened, and we all feel bad for everybody, but it's the how we got there that's hilarious,
Yes,
because we should never, when we should have turned right, we turned left, and all we're really doing is laughing at the fact that we turned
yes,
left. and
yeah,
and 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 but when you do that, you have to have no empathy there, you know what I mean? You have to just sort of state what kind of things happened, and then once you do that, it's funny. But I would never laugh. Like, I will laugh, but I've always will also have the empathy side of me. But it's just not on a comedy stage,
No, I hear
just
you.
not.
I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. When was the last time you cried?
Mm. I think it was at a Marvel movie.
Fuck off.
Yeah. I think, man.
I'm not having that.
Wait. It's good though. It's good. I think men cry at the weirdest things.
Go on.
I think like like when you see, for me, it's like when you see a superhero die or something like
Well,
that,
they
because,
can't be that much of a superhero if they're
oh,
dying, can they? Come on.
well, when Tony Stark bit the bullet, when Tony
Tony
Stark
Stark's
died.
dead.
Yeah. Oh, did I wreck it for you? I don't think you did. You didn't see the biggest movie of all time, did you? Yeah, Iron Man's gone, buddy.
No.
See, here come the tears. Here come the tears. Yeah, man. Because, and the reason I say this is because, men, and I do agree with this. Men, they try and get us to cry, but it's hard for us. It's hard for us. It's hard for us to cry because we hang around with other men, and you know what men don't want to see? Another man crying. We got work to do. Crying isn't going to help us get through whatever the fuck we're doing. Okay, so deal with your feelings on another time. Just, there's a bunch of us, and I get that, to me. Okay, I know that's probably the worst thing to say to
No, no, no. I
somebody.
just want you to be you. Come on. We're
Yeah,
talking.
right. So yeah, of course there are plenty of times I've wanted to cry. You know what I mean? I wanted to break down. It's too much. Do you know what I mean? But if I do, to me, I can't bring my family forward. I can't keep moving, right? It's not the right time. And then by that time, so for when I say I cry at a Marvel movie, when I see Iron Man, you know, and finally I see something that I see in myself, a hero that's gone through all this stuff that didn't have time to cry back then, but for some reason this this movie has brought back all those
A release.
emotions that I
Yeah.
should have cried back then, but I didn't have time to because I had to keep moving. You know, I have things I got to do. You know what
Okay.
I mean? If my wife,
Okay.
women are way more in touch. Women
Okay.
don't cry
Okay.
in a mall for fuck's
I've
sake.
got to ask you this question then. Your children, boys, girls and boys, one of each.
I have one of each. Yeah.
Your son, what happens if he cries? What happens if he finds out that Iron Man's dead?
So,
You
well,
know?
we cried together.
Okay.
We cried together.
But
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. And when he
is it
does,
is it okay for him to
yeah, of
cry?
course it is. Of course it is. And I've seen him, and it breaks my heart.
Why
It
does it break
brings
your heart?
because it's when I see him cry, it's a for like I say, I got empathy, dude. Like
Yeah.
with him and my own family, like I immediately go in for a hug. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know if he'll mind me telling you this, but I'm going to tell you. I can remember one time, and there's two lessons I learned that day, man. I was on his case about something, but I didn't realize he'd had a hard time at school. Do you know what I mean? So not only did he have a hard time at school, now I'm fucking on his case and losing my
Yes.
shit on him.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he started breaking down and crying. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? I thought I was going to teach this kid a lesson, but he actually taught me a lesson. And I remember that day because I forgot to. I was more worried about me than I was him. And when I brought me down on him, it was just too much for him to handle and cry. And then he told me what had happened, and then I felt like the biggest fucking heel,
Yeah.
fucking adding on to this kid's problems. And then I couldn't stop hugging him. And I mean, every family's got something like that. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure every family does. But that was a
100%.
that. So you asked me if my son cries. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I may not cry myself, but I will understand. And don't think I didn't cry as a kid either. Of course I did not. And you know what? Even though you asked me the last time I cried, remember that the last time was at a
Absolutely.
Marvel
Absolutely.
movie. And I'm pretty sure if I look back, there's like when my dad died. Well, when my dad was dying, I cried almost every day. Like when I was with him, to the point where he he needed me to get away from him because I was crying too
Because you
much.
were crying.
Yeah, I was watching one of my heroes go down, and that I was watching Iron Man go down, for fuck's sakes. And then maybe that's why when I see Iron Man go down, maybe it ain't about me, maybe it's something else, but for some reason, when I see a hero get taken out, it just fucking does something to me. My wife will fucking piss herself laughing if she ever sees
She
it.
won't.
she'll,
She won't.
she'll be
She'd be like,
like,
oh,
yeah, she'll point
Tom,
at me and go,
Tom.
ooh, did the man in tights die? And she starts crying. And you don't like Hallmark movies, Tom? you know, um, yeah. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, if he go if but then again, it's me being strong and having to apologize and not knowing, and that never happened again. You know what I mean? That never After that one lesson, I'll never forget that day, right? And I saw him break it down. His friends are getting on his case. Now his dad's getting on his case. That's too much for any young boy to handle. But again, that would be his trauma. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
and now he's stronger. I still also believe that had that not happened, that moment wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have gotten closer, you know? Uh,
How important, if you were talking at the beginning in terms of being a latchkey kid,
mm-hmm.
and when you were talking about your kids, I kind of felt that, unlike what your experience was, even though your mum was sound with you and your brother growing up, it feels like you're much more present.
Um,
Am I wrong?
well, I'm also a comedian, and I was gone quite a long time. So
Yeah.
you know what? I also
Yeah.
have that divorced dad feeling, although I'm not. Like it's like dad's gone to Afghanistan for 2 months. Do you know what I mean? And they're living with, just like, if you asked my wife, she raised them more than I did for sure. So they kind of also did have a separate, because here's the thing, we were also not big punishers. So they weren't latchkey kids, but it wasn't like the door was locked either. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But that's just the kind of parenting I think is good parenting. You know what I mean? Again, I don't want to, I don't want to teach them a lesson because I don't really know the world that they're living in. You know what I mean? The world of 2020. If you ask me, the world of my world as a kid is nothing like the
It's
world that they're living in now. So
incomparable.
I don't really have
Absolutely.
any advice to help them unless they come to me and ask me. You
Mm,
know what I mean? But I think it's, again, it's a better parent that, just to me, knowing they have a place to come home to, that's a good place, and their parents aren't fucking dicks. Do you know what
yes.
I mean? Like, when my kids came home drunk or stoned or whatever happened, I never gave them the fucking runaround. You know what I mean? I never, like, why drugs, blah
Yeah.
blah,
Yeah.
because
Just say no.
you're gonna have to figure that one out for yourself, kid. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna have to. You may not figure it out till you're 50. Trust me. You know what I mean?
True.
That's you. But I was, because as soon as I felt like, as soon as you do something like that and give them shit, they don't come to you no more. To me, they don't come to you. They see you as this guy that they can't trust. Because they've done something bad and you've punished them for it. So
Like we haven't done anything bad.
why would you go do something bad and go back to them and tell them the truth, because
Yes.
you think you're going to get punished? Do
Yes.
you know what I mean? Instead of just sitting
100%.
there going, hey kid, we've all been there, man. Now listen, it'll be 7 hours till this acid wears off, okay? Until then, let's turn the lights off and listen to some Pink Floyd. Let's make this an awesome experience for you. Nobody wants a bad trip, son. Let's roll.
Yeah, and then don't watch Iron Man.
Yeah, let's not watch Iron Man. No, you're not gonna like it.
how have you found coming to
Huh?
England, carving out your career here?
Um, this is always funny to me, man, because you might as well. People don't realize this, right? They talk about immigrants, yeah. Do you know what I mean? But yet, I'm an immigrant. Like, people, I'm first generation immigrant. I am
But you
like,
but you pass.
yeah, of course I do,
You pass. Oh.
because I assimilate, because I try to fit in. My trauma taught me that. I didn't come over here trying to change your ways. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. I just came from a place that I fucking hate. I'm not bringing that shit over here. And I think that's most people. Again, you know what I mean? This spotlight gets shined on one fuck that
Absolutely.
says
100%.
this, so whatever. Um, but I loved it. I because it was an adventure, and that's what everybody wants. So let's get rid of this word immigrant and see them as adventurers.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
and 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 I always say this. I always say this. Like everybody goes, "Why would you move from such a beautiful country like Canada?" Because I've already done Canada. Do you know what I mean?
Touche.
I've seen the Rocky Mountains, driven through them so many times, been all the way across, back and forth. I don't know how many times, and it is a beautiful country. But I've already been there, done that, and you can only do it
Mhm.
so many times before it gets boring. I find more excitement now being here in England and Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales, okay? Because I would rather be in downtown Soho in London, fucking feeling that fucking crazy vibe of
Edgy.
the world.
Yes.
Oh, man, everybody
Yes.
talks about, imagine if there were no immigrants.
Yeah.
London would suck.
London wouldn't exist.
It would
London would not
suck.
exist.
There wouldn't be that crazy
Yes.
fucking danger,
Yes.
excitement vibe that's
Yeah.
we could die tonight.
Go north, east, south, west, different communities. Like
Yeah, man.
London's like London's like the Tower of Babel,
Hmm.
babbling in
It's
all different areas. It's boss.
man. Listen, I come from a town where there were no immigrants. Like Quesnel didn't have a lot of immigrants in there. Okay, and forgive me, Yinka, but one black guy showed up and we thought he could play basketball, but he
Of
couldn't.
course.
Like it
And
was
be
our
a boss
first
dancer.
lesson in racism. Sorry, Ronnie. I love Ron, but yeah, like, and it wasn't. It was the same shit day in and day out, and it was boring as fuck. You know what I mean? You want people from other places to come in because that gives you the adventure that you want, and maybe along the lines you'll get a little bit of trauma that you'll deal with and make you a little bit stronger instead of
Variety is the spice of life.
yeah, man. Yeah, so that's what when I see all that stuff, I just dismiss it so fast, man. I'm like, fuck, here we go. Here we fucking go. Everybody wants a scapegoat now. Blame somebody else for their fucking problems. Go for
100%.
it. You know
100%.
what? Yeah, man.
100%.
Yeah, here's your real. I love the one guy's quote. He goes, "I'm not worried about the people coming in on the small boats. I'm worried about the rich cunts coming in on the big boats." Those guys will
Or
actually,
through the airport
yeah, those guys will fucking
with the
fuck up.
visa. With the
Those guys are the
visa.
guys that are gonna take my fucking job.
Madness.
It is
So what's
madness.
next for you? What have you got going on?
Um, right now I'm just finishing off a tour. Well, you know this, yeah. I'm on a tour right now.
Where
So
can people catch you?
tomstade.com, of course. Just go on there if you're interested. If I'm in a town near you, you come on down. Hopefully, I can offend you with all my trauma.
Of course, of course.
if you want
Of
to,
course, indeed.
if you want to laugh at some trauma. um, um. So I'm all over the place, man. On that. Right now though, I'm hitting 50, and I'm sort of taking stock of what I've done and what I wanted to happen. Do you know what I mean? And what I set out to do, did I achieve it? And the older you get, and you realize, you're not immortal anymore, which is fine. That's a great lesson to have because everything becomes a little more precious now than it did. But right now, I'm not only am I doing gigs and that, I'm pretty much taking stock of my life. Do you know what I mean? Trying to be grateful for all the things that I've got and not pissed off at the things that I wanted. Do you know what I mean? And because
Yeah.
and the like and it's hard not to be jealous some days, man. It really is.
What gets you jealous? You don't strike me
Well,
as a person that would get fitness.
like anybody, Yanka, seeing people have something that you want. You know, we live in a world where we compare ourselves to everybody, and it's hard not to. And I gotta remind myself a lot of times, that, if no one else were around, you'd be really happy. But you know, the fact that you see the other people getting what you want, and wondering why you didn't. You know what I mean? You're not really mad at them or anything, but you're just wondering, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean?
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. I was in Morocco over Christmas, and I was in Marrakesh, and I went to a small coastal town, Essaouira, and it humbled me like fuck. It humbled me because I think of what I do as a therapist, etc., and in comparison to how people survive there, the haves and the have-nots, particularly the have-nots, and how they come together and support each other. And regardless of how much I may charge for a session, the cost of that session would enable a family to maybe survive for a week, a month, I don't know. And it bloody humbled me, you know. And I think when we live in countries like the UK, 200 odd, there's 200 odd countries in the world, we're on top of the shit pile
Yeah.
in comparison to what other people and how other people are living, you know. So I
I,
don't know. I I'll challenge you when you say, you may covet what other people have and all that, but I don't. From what I get off you, I don't really feel that you do that. You know.
Yinka, I'm aware of it going on, which is half the battle.
Okay,
I don't, I don't,
that's
I don't let
that's
it.
different. That's different. Yeah,
I'm aware that it's happening, and I'm dealing with it. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? And I can keep it at bay. It's when you don't realize it's happening and you get lost in it. That's when you're in a lot of trouble.
yeah,
That's what I
definitely.
will say. But you, like I say, you were asking me
Yeah,
whatever question it was. But I understand what you're saying completely, man. You, even though I say all the things that you wanted, you know what I mean? There's
yeah,
somebody looking at you the same way as I'm looking at that guy, you
yes,
know?
yeah,
And but
yeah,
I guess you got to run that gauntlet now, don't you? You know what I mean? You got to feel that jealousy feeling. You got to fucking let it soak into you and understand why you don't like it. You know what I mean?
abs-
Instead of just push it away, and you don't
yeah,
want to push it away. You want to go, oh, I am. You got to say it out loud. I'm fucking jealous, man.
yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it frees you. It frees you because now you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong to say like that, and it doesn't help you. But if
Yes.
you sit there and fucking don't fight
And
it,
let it fester. Absolutely.
yeah, and
Spot
start
on.
sitting there thinking that, oh, I don't have any job. No, you do. Of course you do. But you're aware of it, and you can keep it at bay because now you're. I'm good with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I see him, I'm good with it because I know, like I say, it's there. I'm not pretending it's not. You know what I mean? And as soon as you pretend, and to me, again, so many ways to look at life. Like, please,
No, I know. Oh, Tom,
like
Tom.
whatever I'm saying could be total bullshit.
No, it's not. It's not. You know what? You need to come back on here again if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, yeah, God, for
I
sure,
would
man.
I would love to have you back on here again, because there's so many different areas we haven't even scratched the surface on. But
Anytime.
you've just been superb. Honestly,
Oh, thank.
it's been a fucking pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, you
Oh,
know.
thank you, Yank. I appreciate that, man, and I hope I hope we didn't fuck too many people up out there.
I hope we didn't traumatize too
Yeah,
many
some
people.
guys
No,
coming.
I think we're good there. I think we are good there.
Okay, that's cool. Well, we'll do it again, Yinka. You
We
just tell me
will.
when, man.
Tim, you want to
Huh?
Tim, the producer, wants to get on here. I think we've got a question from a
Okay.
listener.
Oh, a listener. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, Tom, we've got a. Can you hear me? Okay, you okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Yeah, got a listener question come in. Did the promo?
Okay.
So this is from
Only
Ross.
one?
Well, for now, this is from Ross. This is from Ross, and he said, "I'm going to go see Tom in Arbroath on Friday. This is being recorded on Tuesday, so the next live gig to see yourself will be Cheltenham." But he said, "I'm going up with a friend on Friday. I must have seen Tom, love him about 8 times now. My question for him is this: it's not really mental health related, but he really wants this answered. How are you able to remember all the names of all the audience members you involve in your shows? I must have seen you I've seen you 8 times, and you seem to be able to have a knack of remembering all the people that you include in your set. And how have you not managed to fuck it up yet?" Well, I just wanted to put that over to you as a question
What's his
from
name? Is this
Ross.
Ross? Did you say his name was Ross?
Ross, yeah. Ross is coming to see you on our break if
Okay,
he
well,
wants an answer
Ross,
to this one.
I'll give you the secret. Do you want? Here's the secret, honestly. And this goes back to my early party days. Let's bring it back to where it was, Yinka. The
Let's
reason
bring
you're
it back.
the let's bring it back. What somebody told me a long time ago is I can remember most people's name on a night. You could bring me into a any party because I know remembering somebody's name is very important to them. And I've learned that not through comedy, but just if I go to a house party and I don't know the host of the house party and all that, but I fucking get everybody's names right all the time. Like I'll hear his name and an hour later he'll come and I won't be like, "Oh, what's your name again?" It just went in one ear. And here's the honest to God secret is Yinka, you would be a hard one, but I don't think I'd need to do this for you because your name is so unique. But what you do, honestly, is you give the person a famous last name. Okay? So if the guy's name is Ben, I'll fucking remember him as Ben Affleck. And for the whole night, it's Ben Affleck. And then because I've given him that famous last name, it's easier for me to remember. So if your name is Linda, I'll go, "Oh, it's Linda Ronstadt," instead of just Linda. And once you do that, you can remember everybody's name, even if they move around or anything. I mean, you'll fuck up once or twice. Of course you will, just like anything. But for the most part, that is how I remember everybody's name is as soon as they tell me their name in the audience, I will I will give them a famous last name and then I'll remember them the whole night because it's not just Ben Nobody, it's fucking Ben Affleck. Of course I'm going to remember Ben Affleck. Of course I'm going to remember. It doesn't matter who it is.
Okay,
You
so
know?
we're going to thank Ross Kemp for that one, then.
All right. Ross Kemp for that one. Nice one. Ross Geller.
I'm going to ask you one final question.
Okay.
Who's the most important person in your life?
Well, it's a tie.
You can only pick one.
Me. I'm the most important person in my life. I'm putting my oxygen mask on and then I'll put everybody else's on.
Do you embrace that wholeheartedly?
Yeah,
Good.
for sure.
Good.
For sure.
Ladies, gentlemen, you've been listening to Tom Fade on the Hurt Locker. Tom, fucking excellence. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, Yinka. It's been a pleasure, man. And we'll see you again, hopefully.
You will do. You will do.